The night had settled over the small town like a heavy blanket, thick and unusually silent, the kind of silence that made people check their locks twice. A soft wind brushed through the narrow streets, tugging at the leaves piled on the sidewalks, and in that restless darkness, a little girl named Emma sat on the cold front steps of her house, hugging her knees against her chest. Her mother had promised she would be home by 9. It was now past midnight. The porch light flickered above her as if unsure whether it, too, should stay awake and worry with her. Cars passed once in a while, their headlights sweeping over her tiny frame, but no one stopped. No one ever noticed the small, trembling silhouette waiting alone beneath that flickering bulb. Emma wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand, though the tears kept coming. She replayed her mother's words over and over in her mind. "I'll just be a little while, pumpkin. Be good. I'll be right back." But little girls who wait alone long after midnight know too well what fear tastes like. And miles away, at a highway diner on the edge of town, the rumble of motorcycles filled the stillness. A group of bikers, tough-looking, leather-jacketed men with road dust on their boots, sat in their usual booth. They called themselves the Iron Hawks, feared by some, misunderstood by most. Their leader, a broad-shouldered man with silver streaks in his beard and sharp blue eyes, went by the name Brick. To strangers, he looked like trouble. But to those who truly knew him, Brick had a heart big enough to carry someone else's burdens without being asked. As they finished their coffee, the wind carried a different sound toward them, a small, frantic patter of feet on gravel. Brick looked up first. At the entrance of the diner's lot stood Emma, breathless, shivering, clutching a single stuffed rabbit that looked like it had been hugged too tightly for too many years. The bikers turned one by one, and the moment their eyes met hers, Emma burst into tears all over again. Brick was the first to rise. He approached her slowly, gently, bending down to meet her eyes. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said, his voice softer than anyone would have expected. "Are you lost?" Emma shook her head. My mom didn't come home," she whispered. "She didn't come back last night. I waited and waited, and the house was so dark. I got scared. I ran." Her small chest heaved as she tried to breathe through her sobs. "I don't know where she is. Please help." The bikers glanced at one another. They had seen broken car engines, broken laws, broken promises, but nothing broke a man quite like the sight of a frightened child alone in the night. Brick crouched lower, lifting the corner of his leather jacket to wipe the tears from Emma's cheeks. "It's okay. You came to the right place." He held out his hand. "You're safe now." Emma hesitated, but then placed her tiny hand in his palm. The Iron Hawks moved without exchanging a single word. Boots thudded across the ground, jackets zipped, helmets lowered. Brick carried Emma to his bike, wrapping his own jacket around her like a little shield against the cold. She clung to him, her fingers knotted into his vest. Another biker, a tall man named Diesel, spoke into the night. "Let's go find her mom." They split into 3 groups, engines roaring like thunder across the sleeping town. Brick rode with Emma, slow and steady, so she wouldn't be frightened by the speed. She pointed out places her mother might have gone: the grocery store, the bar on Lincoln Street, the alley behind the laundromat where she sometimes talked with neighbors. They checked them all. Nothing. Brick felt something twist in his chest. The night was growing colder, darker, heavier, but the thought of giving up, that wasn't in his blood. "Emma," he said gently as they stopped near an old bridge, "does your mom have any friends she might visit?" Emma bit her lip. "Only Miss Karen. She lives near the river." Brick nodded and throttled forward. When they reached the small, dimly lit house, they found a car parked crookedly in the driveway, Emma's mother's car. The door was slightly open, swaying with the wind. Brick felt Emma tense. He motioned for his men to stay alert. They approached cautiously, and as Brick pushed the door wider, they found her, Emma's mother, unconscious on the couch, pale and barely breathing. Brick quickly checked her pulse, a faint, weak rhythm under cold skin. "Overdose," Diesel murmured quietly. Emma gasped, choking on a sob. Mom, wake up." Brick knelt beside her and spoke firmly. "She's alive, sweetheart. but we need to help her right now." He lifted his chin at another biker. "Call 911. Tell them we found an unresponsive woman." The room filled with tension as they waited. Emma sat in Brick's lap, her tiny fingers holding onto his sleeve as if he were the only solid thing left in the world. When the ambulance arrived, the paramedics rushed inside, working swiftly. Emma wanted to follow them, but one of the EMT knelt in front of her and said softly, "We'll do everything we can, sweetheart. You're very brave." And she was brave. Braver than a little girl should ever have to be. As they loaded her mother into the ambulance, Brick asked to ride along, but the EMT shook their heads. They couldn't take a whole biker behind them. So Brick turned to Emma instead. "You'll ride with me. We'll follow right behind them, okay?" Emma nodded and held onto him again. At the hospital, hours passed like years. Emma curled up on a chair in the ER waiting area, Brick sitting beside her, his massive frame taking up 2 plastic seats. The other bikers waited outside, pacing, smoking, restless with worry. Finally, a doctor emerged. "She's stable," he said. "The overdose was severe, but she pulled through. She's asking for her daughter." Emma leapt up, almost tripping over her own feet as she ran. Brick followed at a slower pace, his heart swelling when he saw mother and daughter reunited, hands clinging like they never wanted to let go again. The mother cried into Emma's hair, promising she would do better, be better, get help. Emma simply held her tighter, as if love alone could keep her safe. Brick stood quietly near the doorway. When the mother looked up and saw him, her eyes widened with gratitude. "You found her. You found me," she whispered. Brick dipped his head respectfully. "Your little girl is tougher than she looks. She came all the way to us asking for help." The mother wiped her tears. "Thank you, all of you. You saved my life." But Brick shook his head. "Emma saved your life. We just followed her lead." As the Iron Hawks prepared to leave, Emma ran to him once more. She hugged him tightly, her little arms barely reaching around him. "Thank you for not letting me be alone," she whispered. Brick gently patted her head. "Not anymore, sweetheart, not ever again." And as the bikers mounted their motorcycles, the sun broke across the horizon, lighting the town in pink and gold. The Iron Hawks rode off, engines rumbling like distant thunder, leaving behind one small family stitched back together by courage, kindness, and the unlikeliest group of heroes.